of the objections raised against Milad, and you touched upon it with the hadith where Nabi said, do not imitate the Christians. And one of the objections is that you are imitating the Christians because they celebrate Christmas, which is the birthday of Jesus.
How many Christians have you seen that on Christmas they read Salatu Salam on Isa alayhi salam? How many jalsa do they organize during Christmas? Right, let's start from there. Number one. Number two, this hadith is misused. The Prophet ﷺ didn't say don't celebrate my Milad the way they celebrated Milad. No. The Prophet ﷺ said don't respect me the way they respected their prophets. Why? They respected their prophets and took their prophets up to the status of Son of God. Don't take me to be Son of God. Why? Because I am not the Son of God, I am the servant of God. But the other hadith which Al-Bani and bin Baz and Fawzan quote is Man tashabbaha biqawmin fahuwa minhum. He who imitates a nation is one of them. So if you imitate a nation, then you are one of them. Well, if you apply that rule, then I think on that rule, everyone sitting in this hall is culpable. Why? Trousers and shirt is the dress of the kuffar. If you imitate them, then on that hadith, everyone becomes a kafir, or everyone becomes a guilty. But no, when you say shi'ar, man tashabbaha, the tashbih must be shi'ar. It must be specific to them. It must be specific. And everyone knows that the celebration of Christmas on the 25th of December has got nothing to do with the birthday of Isa alayhi salam. It's just an occasion. The actual birthday of Isa alayhi salam is not even on the 25th of December. So therefore, we don't imitate Christmas, we don't imitate any birthday as such. We practice and revere a specific day in the name of Milad, because this is what Allah and His Rasul have done. So tashbih will only become culpable if that tashbih is the shi'ar of the kuffar. And celebrating birthday is not the shi'ar of kuffar. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ, if it was shi'ar, if it was exclusive, then the Prophet ﷺ would never ever have extolled Friday or extolled Monday, because that was the birthday of Rasulullah ﷺ. Yes.
What was the previous name of the Arab Sharif before the peace coming to be?
What is the previous name of?
Arab Sharif before the...
The real name, Saudi Arabia is after a king. His name was Al-Saud. Yeah. Al-Saud. There's many kings. The problem is most of them are cockeyed. But he was one of the biggest cockeyed ones. And he actually had a pact with Muhammad bin Abdul Wahab Najdi that you look after the religious side and I will look after the government. And such was the nature of this pact that when Shaykh came into power, if they saw anyone with a tasbih, they would kill them. Did you know that? If they saw anyone with a tasbih, they would kill them. Why? Because they said this is bidah. Yeah. Even now, bin Baz says that anyone who says Sadaqallahu al-Azim, this is bidah. Yeah, they have a factory of bidah. And you think that they say, we just call Quran and Sunnah. They have made it their point to declare kufr and bidah upon the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But the actual name of this region, which is now today known as Saudi Arabia, but inshallah it will go back to its original name, and that name is Hijaz.
Subhanallah.
That is why the real name of Makkah and Medina has always been Hijaz, and temporarily it may have been misnamed, but it will in essence go back to its real name, and that is Hijaz, Makkah and Medina.
Yes. Is it not a bidah to name a country after the name of a person, such as Saudi Arabia?
Well, I ask you the question, is it not bidah to put the clothes of a king in a museum for people to come and have a look at? His underwear, his lota, everything. In Riyadh, is it not bidah? Oh, that's not bidah. But when you expose relics of Sahaba, that becomes bidah. When you give evidence to sacred sites where the Prophet ﷺ came, that becomes bidah. So, exposing the lota of the kings in Riyadh, that's not bidah. But exposing the relics, holy relics of Sahaba and their predecessors, that becomes bidah. Yes.
You mentioned this word bidah. I was speaking to somebody in Central Mosque, and they explained to me what bidah was, and then invited me to a charity dinner for Palestine. And I was wondering, did the Prophet ﷺ ever have to raise, for charity? Did he ever hold charity dinners and have admissions and things like that?
This is it. You see, one rule for them and one for us. They make the rules as they go along. But the reality is, I could now go on a campaign of pinpointing everything which they do and say, is this bidah, is this bidah? The reality is, they make the rules that suit them. It's quite okay to celebrate the day of Maududi or to celebrate other days or the birthday of their kings, but when it comes to Rasulullah and the companions, their rules change. In the time of Rasulullah, there's not one, there's many, many occasions. Shall I give you one example? Just for the record, you probably have heard of this. One very easy example. The Prophet ﷺ himself, on one occasion, ordered his companion to sit where he sits. Where did the Prophet ﷺ used to sit? On the mimbar. And he said, "Oh my companion, you sit where I sit, I will sit on the floor. You sit where I sit, and I will sit on the floor. You sit above me on the pulpit to do what? To read my Milad." So Hassan bin Sabit radiallahu anhu, he sits on the pulpit of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he recites poetry, naat, which are directly referring to the Milad of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And you know those ashar, and there are many ashar. And not only that, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he finishes, he does a dua for him. He says, Allahumma ayyidhu bi ruhil qudus. Oh Allah, help him with ruhil qudus. I help him with Jibreel. So therefore, that's just one example of Milad, Mehfil and Milad in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And after that, the Sahaba used to hold gatherings. They used to talk about. There wasn't a day where the Sahaba wouldn't talk about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So for them, every day was a day of Milad.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah.
Yeah, I think time caught up with us. Thank you very much for everybody coming. I'd just like to ask Shaykh if you wouldn't mind if everyone would stand, lead us in Islam.